Blaine Mathews, man, fresh off a world championship win in 1,000 stock. How was your weekend at Jackson?
Yeah, no, it was it felt good to get one for sure. I had some more goals that I didn't quite get accomplished, but at the end of the day, still bringing home a world championship means a lot. We put a lot of effort and a lot of work and time into this, so to still get one of those and bring it home feels good. I had, like I say, I was hoping to get a few wins in the mod stuff and ultimately bring home the big trophy. But it's racing. That's what makes the sport unique, is there's so many talented racers out there. And huge congrats to Justin Thomas on one heck of a weekend. So he deserved it.
Yeah, for sure. So talk about qualifying Friday, Saturday, and then going into the finals on Sunday. How did that process go for you?
Yeah, so Friday qualifying is probably one of the toughest things we do as hill climbers at Jackson. It's so tight. The course, it's really unique. It's kind of like a go-kart hill climb style, but then there's, it develops bumps and holes and some trenches and then some icy spots. But all the racers, they absolutely throw down, at Jackson, as we all know how everybody is. But to get in on qualifying is tough on Friday. Stock qualifying it's probably almost harder to get in sometimes than to go win the class on Sunday. And that was something I did have a mistake in, was open stock, and I missed that, which I was pretty bummed about. But they only took 5 guys, and I mean, if you had one little bobble, you were not in, and it come down to tenths of a second. So, but again, it's that's what's cool about the sill climb racing, is there's that much talent. But Saturday was good, mod day. I got in both those, just tried to keep good smooth runs, not get fancy. It's pretty easy to take yourself out of that race. But I just tried on Saturday. I try to just bring myself down a little bit and have good smooth runs, so I'm sure to get in.
Yeah, there's a ton of racers trying to get into these classes. Like I was just pulling up 9 stock, and I was gonna count, but there's a lot of racers trying to get into that one, especially. That's a big class. So yeah, like you're
Yeah.
saying, at that one, and 1,000 stock is probably just as big of a run sheet for qualifying. Uh, how was the snow? Was it that different than years past for Jackson?
Honestly, like, I thought the snow was pretty good. It was shallow in some spots, but it was deeper in other spots, and that's just kind of how Snow King is in general. I think that's from the skiing. If there's a hump in the ground, it's going to be shallow there because they ski it off. But I've seen worse years, that's for dang sure. I think we all have, and we've seen better years. But the snow up top was fairly soft. It never was super icy up there, and kind of sketchy in that way. But the bottom, it's always icy. There's more man-made snow down there. It's groomed, so it's going to stay pretty solid. But even in the bottom, like, it softened up. The weather was warm enough to soften it up. So at the end of the day, the courses were really fun.
So let's talk about Sunday, your finals run. You come off the mountain in 9 mod, and then turn around and go right back up for 1,000 stock. What was your take a start to finish through your run on 1,000 stock? Like what's it like sitting at the bottom, and then take us through the first catwalk. At this point, guys are jumping that bottom catwalk. Like, what was that run like?
Yeah, so I'll start at 9 mod because that had a big part of, I think, of my 1,000 stock run. In 9 mod, I was pretty fired up. I just come off a second place in 900 stock, so I just needed a little more speed, and there were some areas I could clean some things up, and I knew I could get that speed. So in 9 mod, I was pretty motivated to push it a little bit. And really, at the bottom of the hill, the first little part of that hill, I struggled in some bumps. I think I was just forcing the issue a little bit, riding a little too hard, a little too tight, and I made some silly mistakes in the bottom. And and the top was okay. I tried to just kind of pick up some speed in the top because I knew I was a little off pace. And I actually, in 9 mod, decided to go ahead and just jump that first catwalk. I thought, well, maybe I can make a little time up there, but fell a little short there as well. I had a couple bobbles up top that cost me, and then I came right down the hill, and I was out early in 1,000 stock. Pretty much as soon as I got to the bottom of the hill, I jumped on my stock and went to the starting line, and I told myself, I'm like, I just need to relax, and I know how to do it. I've been over that hill a bunch of times. I know how to get over it smoothly, and ultimately I told myself just to slow down a little bit, and I'll probably be faster. And that was my game plan, was just hit things exactly, how I should. Being just come off the course, I knew exactly where I needed to go. I knew the spots to avoid, and so that's what I did. I just tried to focus and hit all my lines, and it worked out, just right. I didn't push it crazy hard in the bottom, which kind of made me nervous when Sam Peterson was coming because he was pushing at the bottom and had quite a bit quicker bottom split time than myself. And he was coming up the top. I was starting to think, oh man, he's going to get me here. And fortunate for me and unfortunate for him, he hit that wall up there towards the lights, and it cost him. I think I got him by about 6/10. But again, that's Jackson Hole. That's racing there. That hill is an animal, and anything can happen. We've seen one of the most kind of bizarre weekends in Jackson, I think, ever. And I think that's what's responsible for that is the level of competitiveness nowadays. Everybody's that on edge. So it's so tough to keep your runs together and be perfect. Because we're pushing it so hard.
Yeah, it was, and it was a pretty unique weekend for Jackson for sure. How did you like the gate placement for finals and everything? It seemed like you guys were racing the west side of the exhibition run there, more so than usual.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day, I know a lot of people have opinions on gates and where they should be. And, we all have each of our preference. Some guys like it faster, some like it more technical. Honestly, my favorite thing is just to show up and race whatever's given to us, because at the end of the day, we all race the same course, and we all got to be good on that course. So if you're a well-rounded rider, you should be able to handle whatever it is, whether it's fast, slow, really hard to get through or really easy. Like, you got to find a way to rise to the occasion, be on top. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really don't have a preference on course setups. I just honestly, it's when I wake up, I'm excited to see what the course is and figure out how to tame that course for the day.
Yeah, what was the most challenging part of the course, especially on Sunday?
I think there was kind of two parts. One part was getting to the first catwalk with a lot of speed and not making any bobbles. There was getting to be some big holes later in the day down low, and you could lose a lot of time in those. And so you had to get through those. But if you could get a good split to the first catwalk, it give you a lot of room to just make a good clean run up top. As far as up top, there was a couple little gates, that had some little head walls in them, and they were right next to gates, and it was kind of the sweet line. So, the toughest part about that was being able to hit those lines just right, not touch a gate, and get through the course clean. Which again, in open mod, I found myself in the same spot. I finally had a really good run going. It felt incredible to the first catwalk, and I was fired up. I actually jumped the second catwalk and had a really good head of steam going, and I was just told myself there was one gate I had to be really careful by, and it was a little funky spot, and I come in there a little too careful, and what happens is I just kind of had to step off the sled and keep it from tipping over, and ultimately cost me a lot of time in that run. But again, that's the nature of racing, and that's why we love it.
Well, man, you qualified 4 for 5, and then in those four classes, you had top fives in every class. Walk away with a world championship in 1,000 stock. Uh, One last question: how did your stock king run go?
Yeah, so the Stock King run, man, that there was a kind of that storm all day. Sunday was just in and out in the fog, and when I pulled up to the line in the Stock King run, I was looking up the hill and I couldn't hardly see past the climb banner. There was just this real dense fog rolled in for a few minutes there, and it was snowing and it was windy, and I said, it is what it is. We all race in these conditions, so I just said, give it your all. And I tried to just give it a blitz run. I know I had to beat Keith on a stock turbo, and it was going to be tough. I knew that I had to be absolutely perfect, and it was going to be hard to be perfect because at the end of the day, I just couldn't see. I think I wiped my goggles twice before the first catwalk. That big snowflakes were sticking to my goggles, and so I was trying to keep my goggles wiped, trying to keep a good pace, and I did have a good pace. But as I went by the first catwalk, it was such a whiteout there for a moment that I really couldn't even see gates, and I knew where like the holes and stuff were in the course, but I couldn't make out the ground that well, and I was just pinned. And out of nowhere, I just drove into a giant head wall and kind of come off the sled a little bit and recovered well, kept going. And same thing right before the lights. I got up there and you just couldn't quite make out the definition of the ground with that fog and that wind that was kind of coming in with the snow. And just that was just the luck of the draw, and I know Keith and Luke and all those guys, it wasn't nice visibility for them either. I sat there at the timing lights and and was waiting for them guys to come up, and that fog just cleared a little bit. I think it was the wind kind of quit at the top, and I said, man, I wish I would have waited 3 minutes. It would have helped a lot. But again, that's the nature of racing, and big respect to those guys for hammering down in tough conditions.
Yeah, for sure. Well, congrats on the weekend. Blaine Mathews, Factory Skidoo Hill Climber. Again, winning 1,000 stock world championship for 2024 at the Jackson Hole Snow Devils World Championship Hill Climb. We'll let you go, man, but thanks for your time.
Hey, thank you guys. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Talk to you later. Today's show is brought to you by Polaris Snowmobiles. Check out the Polaris Pro Chaos RMKs at your local dealer, and also check out 320ranch.com for your next snowmobile trip in Big Sky, Montana.